But yeah, we got to talk to you about the C's, of course, as they start off. They had the big news all summer, with getting KP and then getting Giroux at the very end, right before camp. And
DA
just,
is high on KP, by the way, Jared. Just so you know,
yes, I'm
big
very happy.
KP
I've
guy.
told Jared. Jared knows. I've talked to him about it.
Yeah.
Y'all hating on KP. You'll see. You'll see. You'll see what that big Latvian does this year.
I covered Andres Biedron, so you got to cover.
Yeah, no. I'm
He's
big
huge.
on KP. I think he's going to be good if he can stay healthy. That's right, former Wizard. You know the drill. You know the drill.
No, when I was in DC for it was KP's last game, DA was talking about it's like this is the biggest secret in the league. KP's been dominating, no one's seeing it, and I think people will certainly see it now.
Because his team sucked.
Well, that'd be part of it, yeah.
But he was good. So, Jared, man, we got to, as they start, I think everybody kind of expects them in Milwaukee to slug it out over the course of the season. How are they approaching? We got to have home court in case we face the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, is it a big deal or not a big deal at all to them?
No, I think for one, I think teams are kind of losing focus on home court like it used to be. I think the numbers just kind of bear it out that home court doesn't seem to be quite as impactful as it used to be. I mean, according to the athletic survey, the Boston is the best fan, so I guess they would want it for that reason. But historically, the Celtics, or I guess historically, the Celtics have sucked at home in the playoffs anyway, so they're almost better off on the road. But the one thing that they have talked about is Joe Mazzulla talked about over the course of this training camp about how he maybe overfixated on trying to get the one seed. He was trying to prove himself last year. That was a pretty clear benchmark for him to hit. And so I think this year they're not trying to focus on that at all. He gave some speech about how it's about just focusing on the process and not even worrying about the results and just saying F it to the actual results. And so I think he's going to probably make it their message of like, let's not standing watch at all this year and let's just focus on ourselves. And then I guess when the playoffs start, we'll find out who we're playing.
Jared, man, I don't know about this small lineup stuff. And obviously, Al Horford is how old was Joe Louis in Coming to America?
107 years old.
That's how old Al Horford is, and it makes sense. Obviously, it sounds like a great closing lineup, but and I feel like Derek White and Jrue Holiday as your defensive backcourt is a nightmare. But how do you see that working at the end of the games? How do you see that? Like, it just feels like Jason Tatum regularly at 4 or spending most of his minutes at 4 might be a problem. Does that catch up to them at the end of games because they're all playing up essentially?
I mean, they never closed double big all these years that they've actually had double big lineups.
Yeah.
What team really closes double big? It's pretty.
But they don't start double big though. That's the different. That's where I'm like, is it?
They might. I think if they're playing a team like Cleveland or like if they're going against Golden State and it's Green and Looney out there or Washington with. Who cares what Washington's doing? They're probably going to adjust at those moments, but yeah, Kuz ain't going to scare nobody, right? So shout out Daniel Gafford. I think that they're probably going to stay with that smaller lineup. I mean, the thing is, Derek White would make the ideal 6-man anyway, so it's like they can still get away with doing it that way. I would imagine that they probably would be better off, honestly, bringing Horford in off the bench just so he can come in fresh later in the game. And then that way, if you want to play him for those crunch time minutes at the end of games, he's accumulated less minutes over the course of the game at that point anyway. So, of course, it gets a little tricky with, like, if he's with the second unit early in the fourth quarter, how do you rest him and then bring him for crunch time? They can figure that stuff out. But most teams finish the game small. Tatum is 6'9", 6'10"-ish at this point. He also looks pretty big this year. Like, he looks a lot stronger even than last season. His rim protection has gotten better over the years. He's averaging, like, probably 8 or 9 rebounds a game in the postseason the last few years. So I think he does everything that you need a modern 4 to do. And they're even using him in some pick and roll coverages during the preseason. I think they're trying to get him to be an actual big and pick and roll so that Porzingis can float around on the baseline too. So I don't really see an issue with them closing small.